Watch, here it comes.
There it is.
You're going to start seeing this guy has this like radar technology deal on his computer, and he can see it actually happening in real time. Here we go. Zap. There's one red line across your screen, straight to one fire. Zap. Another red line straight to the fire, almost like there's laser weapons being used to shoot and make these fires actually happen. And there's been reports and videos, folks, of people actually looking at and wondering what they're seeing as things are shooting across the sky. It's very, very interesting, right? And also, if you're looking at your screen, you'll see all three fires in California starting at the same time. That's right. It's like they just sporadically, like somebody went, phew, and they just lit them all up at the same time, and off they go, and the fires begin. This is not normal, and that's why we have amazing, if you go in the description box below, you can get these videos that I'm showing you now and share them with your friends and family so they're aware of what's happening around this entire fire deal. Check this out.
All right, everyone, welcome back. This is going to blow your mind. Once again, we are looking at Area 51. As these fires are going on in Southern California, they are laying something over Area 51. It's then being shot by the Next-Rad radar system. You can see that clear as day right here. It is then expanding and being dropped right over Southern California. And then take a look at what happens to Area 51. This is totally insane. This is not normal, and this is not birds or bugs. I can promise you that. There is something very odd going on with the military or something that's taking place in Area 51 and then being dropped in the sky, which is then carried over by the jet stream or some sort of wind pattern into Southern California. I talked about this yesterday when we predicted these wildfires based on a northwest anomaly that we saw, again from the Next-Rad radar system, which then led to insane wildfires in Ventura County. Now we are seeing more and more of this being dumped over Area 51 and then flows into Southern California. What is going on here? And then look at how the Next-Rad towers go absolutely berserk. There is no chance that this isn't related, my friends. This is now 2 days in a row we have captured this happening over Area 51 and flowing down into Southern California, exactly where these wildfires are. And I know a lot of people will give us a hard time for talking about this, but how can you not? This is not a coincidence whatsoever. And I'm going to continue digging into this to see exactly how long they continue this for. If you look close enough, you can find stuff like this every day on these satellite charts. All right, so one final time, let's dissect this right here. We have it dropped over Area 51, a perfect lineup with where the base is. And just like yesterday, as soon as it's laid out, we have the zap coming from the radar, the same one coming from Nevada right here. Then we have the expansion as it moves into Southern California. Just like yesterday, those radars start going off and crazy. And that's when this disco party begins in Nevada. Check this out. This is just unbelievable to see happening and then have no one point this out. Just as the cloud is getting over Southern California where all the wildfires are, we start seeing the Next-Rad towers from different states crisscrossing right over Area 51. Those are where our scalar beams are happening. And this is just insane to watch. You can see that cloud dissipating over Southern California and the Baja. We'll backtrack. You can see it come back and it originates right over Area 51, my friends. I appreciate each and every one of you. Please share this.
That's Into Thin Air on, you can find.
I like that guy.
Right. So
he was great.
Well, SG, I wanted to ask, had you seen that, what your thoughts are on that? And then I'll get to B in a second. So please go ahead.
Well, I had seen that report, and I have to say part of what informs my opinion with all of this is that very video that you just showed, right? This is a clear smoking gun. There's no other way to characterize this. And regardless of, the philosophy behind why it is occurring, the fact that it is occurring has nothing to do with natural phenomena. And that's the broader narrative here, right? That's the broader and more important part. We as Americans have to come around, all of us, as many of us as humanly possible, have to come around to the understanding that we live in a technological farce and that the world that actually exists out there is far different, far more at our fingertips, and far more in alignment with what we are technologically capable of doing on a grand scale. And that grand scale can be misoriented and misused if the wrong people are in control of it.
Right. Well, so I guess my question on that is, SG, if the white hats are quote unquote in control, which the keyboard points out quite a bit, I suppose it's like, how are they allowing? I mean, if you look at time travel and the books that have been written, Baron von Trump, are they aware and this might just be your opinion, so obviously you're not having to state fact or anything, but just speculate with me for a moment. Do you think they know that these events are going to happen and they have to let them play out because there's that universal law that either guardian angels, source, what have you, can't interfere? Or are these now the minions? I guess my question is also, how do these minions, if many of the deep state players at the higher levels have been taken out, how do they have access to energy weapons that are this powerful?
Well, I think one of the things to remember, excuse me, is that different factions inside the U.S. government, the secret intelligence community, the secret technological community, the Department of Energy, and others have all been at war intra-agency with one another since the very first Trump presidency. And that's why I shy away from proclaiming, out there for the public one way or another who is actually responsible behind some of these events. And the reason for that, gentlemen, one of the reasons I shy away from that is because we are still in a war. And when we look at a war and we look at a pathway through a war, we have to acknowledge a couple of very difficult realities. One reality is that there is no pathway to victory that has no casualties at all. In other words, we have to understand that there are going to be losses. It is just unfortunate, but it is the truth of conflict itself. The other avenue I think we need to understand is if you are a patriotic military force fighting for the destiny of humankind and the literal liberation of not just America, but more than 200 other countries by the time this process is over, how much are you willing to let happen in order to shorten the time frame for that conflict? In other words, how do we minimize violence and death and go through it as quickly and as rapidly as humanly possible? Because there's no way out of the inferno, to use the metaphor. We have to walk quite literally through it. And so I approach things with that particular lens. And when I look at videos like that, and when I saw that video yesterday, I thought to myself, well, this could really go both ways. This could be a faction of the deep state that is just abjectly determined to run away headlong ahead of this incoming second Trump presidency optically for the world, attempting to push that agenda, LA 2028, forward and really press that globalist agenda and press that globalist accelerator. Or you could have individuals that are patriotically associated who understand that while the surface cost is tragic, the underground gain is magnanimous and enormous and absolutely has to be dealt with. And we have to have an organic, reasonable way to then bring that discussion to the public fore. And I think that's just as big of a contender.
Well, I'm
well said. Well said. Now, what were you going to say?
Well, no, one of the most interesting parts of your question or query was, this non-intervention principle, and that would apply to, non-human intervention or anyone using a technology where they could view outcomes in the future.
Project Looking Glass.
So, yeah, exactly. Well, that's certainly referenced in the Q materials, but and that's it's a compelling line of questioning because,
well, thank you, that's why I thought I'd ask it.
Well, because when we see casualties, we think, well, how could anyone aligned with or called a white hat or whatnot allow so many casualties? SG just explained there are always casualties in war. This is just what happens, but I think those two things dovetail together in an interesting way, and it's something worth exploring, maybe to develop a better understanding of it. But yeah, we have the fires. There's your organic entree into the underworld. The tunnel systems. LA is famous for it. The Playboy Mansion, I think it was recently sold. It'd be interesting to scrutinize who bought it, and because that's famous for its tunnels. There's been a lot of people that are eyewitnesses that have talked about the tunnels under the Playboy Mansion, but the Getty doesn't have to burn to expose what's under the Getty,
right?
If the Palisades burned, so it'll be interesting. I was really hopeful with, like I said before, the Epstein raid, and then it was evident, in the early stages that the FBI was clearly covering things up. So we'll see what happens with this one.
I'm excited in a bit of a morbid way, if I can say so, with respect to what comes as a result of this, because we have the marriage of two really brilliant consciousness warfare techniques, a massive awakening throughout the very heavily Democrat and very heavy liberally leaning community. That advanced weaponry was likely at play here. Certainly arson was at play. And at the same time, we also have this broader implication for what happens with respect to the discussion around that technology at a national security level and where else this is actually going on, right? This is occurring across South Carolina and North Carolina. This is occurring across Florida, just, you know, different places, different faces, but the exact same stage script. This occurred with Katrina, the event of 2005. It's occurred a number of different times. And so looking at this and where we go with this in again, a bit of a morbid way, considering it is so new and recent and still ongoing, it is going to be exciting to have a national discourse that is more unified and aligned with one another rather than existing in a state of argument with one another about the possibilities.